All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, before I begin, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Ruach Kodash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone Well. Peace, blessings, salutations to the full elect that is out there pushing, laboring, believing, and listening on to this truth with all sincerity. All right, I made a blessing that should be upon houses. All right, the on topic of this lesson, all right, is going to be, all right, is that the average Babylonian citizen, all right, lives in a bubble. All right. And what I mean by they live in a bubble is that they live in the sense of, not seeing what's going on throughout the four corners of the world, right? They're very sheltered or closed off, right? Very naive in a sense you can say. All right. But I want to start with this right here, and I'm going to play a clip after this that really, inspired this lesson, right? This is Ezekiel, the 3rd chapter, verse 17. It reads, Son of man, I have made thee a watchman unto the house of Israel. Therefore, hear the word at my mouth and give them warning from me, right? So you have the men of Yahweh Bashem Al Shah, right? The prophets on the highways and hedges, right? Uploading, these videos, weekly, daily, that is, ultimately being a watchman for the nation of Yasharallah, right? And then the times that we are in, right? Giving you the warnings, from Yahweh Bashem Al Shah to let you know that, these final days are nigh, right? That destruction is nigh, right? But the average Babylonian lives in a bubble, right? They live in a fairy tale. They live in La La Land, right? They're more focused on, what's going on with their favorite celebrity, what's going on with their favorite athlete, what's going on, with the entertainment industry, right? They're all, lost and consumed by, the distractions of Babylon, all right? When in reality, you should be focusing on prophecy, focusing on the tensions of the world, the state of the world, because these are all signs to let us know that we are, truly at the end. All right. And we are getting closer and closer to the end. All right. But I'm going to play this clip. All right. It's from the show Sopranos. Right. This is the fourth season, episode 10. And this is a, this is a Russian woman, right? And she was talking to one of the main characters, Tony, about to hear what she says.
That's the whole purpose for people like me, to inspire people like you.
Jesus, no offense.
So that's the trouble with you Americans. You expect nothing bad ever to happen, when the rest of the world expect only bad to happen, and they're not disappointed.
Well, that's a fucking grim outlook.
You have everything, and still you complain. You lie on couches and bitch to your psychiatrist. You got too much time to think about yourselves.
Sounds like me, all right.
Right, so that's pretty much the clip I wanted to get of it right there, right? So, basically, like she said, right? That's the problem with these Babylonians, right? They don't see the struggles or the true state that of the world, right? While the rest of these people in these other nations are going through it, these Babylonians, they just, kicking their feet back, living it up, man. Right? They are at ease in this place, man. But yet they know destruction is very close. And when we prophesy these things, these people get upset at that. They get mad when we, tell them about reality. Majority of people are like, what's that movie? The Matrix, man. Right? That is how majority of people in this place are. They're like the Matrix, man. Right? They're moving day by day. Right? Lollygagging. Living like they're in a fairy tale. Right? Without seeing the reality of what's going on the earth right now, man. Right? And then she even went into like, their different, I guess you could say, vices, right? They got the luxury of going to therapists to talk, while the rest of the world, the people in the rest of the world don't have that, right? They got to deal with that, right? And she also said what? They basically paraphrase, right? The Babylonians expect good, while the rest of the world, people in these other nations, they're expecting bad shit to happen, right? Going to show you how sheltered and in a bubble people in Babylon are. And that bubble was about to pop. All right. Because as tensions continually increase, as we get closer and closer to war, closer and closer to Jacob's trouble, right? Shit just hitting the fan. That bubble is going to pop. That false reality, that smoke screen that is, in front of all these Babylonians, right? All these people in Babylon, America, is going to fade away. And now they're going to have to deal with the reality of the world. Majority of people in Babylon do not deal with the reality of the world, right? They're drunk off of the Babylonian wine, right? But when we tell them the truth of these things, they are upset, right? You have individuals that say, if it's not on CNN, I don't believe it, right? This Western media, the Western news media platforms is all, owned and ran by Amalek first and foremost, man. But nevertheless, you can never trust that, right? Because that's what keeps these people sheltered, right? Let me grab this real quick. Galatians 4:16. Am I therefore become your enemy because I tell you the truth, right? These people do not want to hear the truth. They detest the truth. They have a they have a perpetual hatred for the truth, man. Right? They want to be like that guy from the Matrix that said, wipe my memory, put me back in the Matrix, and I don't want to know about this. Right? They want to live in the la la land. They want to live in that false comfort, that false at ease, a false illusion that is portrayed in Babylon, America, man. Right? But yet they know that death is around the corner. War and terrible times is literally around the corner. The civilization, right? This quote unquote civilized society of Babylon is held together by a very, very, very thin string that is getting ready to snap at any moment. Right? They say that America is one meal away from total anarchy. You already see what's going on with Babylon and Iran, right? You already see what's going on with the economy, right? The housing market crashing, the increase in foreclosures, right? The lack of jobs, the value of the US dollar going down, the cost of living is going up, right? Majority of people can't even afford living on their own, right? And if they are living on their own, right, they are penny pinching like a motherfucker in this place. Excuse my French. But that just goes to show you the state of this world, right? Let me grab this. This is 1 Thessalonians, the 5th chapter, verse 3. It reads, for when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. And right now, these people are in that peace and safety spirit, right? They're in that jolly ghost spirit, man. They're in that trying to build something in this spirit. They're in that, planning for the next 30 years, next 30, 50 years in this place, man. Right? Where the likelihood of that even being a reality is slim to none. But these people are so far gone and destroyed and drunk off of this Babylonian wine, man. Right? That is the bubble that the average Babylon American citizen is in. Right? And you can blame, the media, the social media, and all these other things and so forth, right? Because it all plays a part, right? Because people go on social media and they'll see, these different lifestyles. They'll see all the bullshit and the what they call it, the brain rot in other terms, man. Right? But these people in Babylon are coming to a rude, very rude awakening, man. Right? That's why it says in the scripture, shortly paraphrasing, a man of the Lord, right, shall be more precious than fine gold, right? Because you have the ability to still get right with Yahweh Shema Shai before it's too late. You still have the opportunity to inquire, to come across the prophets on the highways and hedges, to, watch these various breakdowns and lessons on YouTube. All right. Because that famine hour is coming, soon and very soon, the prophets won't be on the highways and hedges. You won't be able to come across these videos. Brothers already get shadow banned, right? Pages getting deleted, So these people are going to be flocking to the men of the Lord, right? Because scripture says, then shall they know a prophet had been among them, right? Because once that smoke screen, that illusion clears away, that Babylonian wine that they were drinking wears off, that reality kicks in like, oh shit, it's kind of like, what's that movie called, man? It's like Tomorrow's Day or something like that, where they were in a literal bubble, right? And there was like around them was basically chaos and anarchy, but inside that little bubble they were naive to what was going on around them. They thought it was just a regular day, having fun, living it up, until they were able to get out of that bubble and they saw that the world was going to complete shit. And that small bubble that they were in was, ultimately that distraction to them, right? They didn't see what was happening. And that's what's going to happen to a lot of these Babylonians, man. Once that bubble pops, they get up out that bubble, they going to see the true state of the world, man. Now at that point, they cooked. That's why it's important to get right with Yahweh Bashem Yahushai now while you can, before it's too late, before that famine of the word comes, man. Before that, final destruction falls upon this place, Babylon, America, man, which is those thermonuclear ICBM missiles, man. All right. And also, again, segue into this too. That's why you're gonna see a lot of these people are gonna take that charagma, man. Right? They're gonna take that, because once that reality kicks in, man, they're gonna try to do everything they can possibly do to go back to being inside that bubble, just like that guy from the Matrix. He ultimately was a Judas in other terms, right? He turned on them just to go back into the Matrix and get a piece of a pie from these devils, right? Get that luxury, right? And we seen that even with the Crown Royal, right? All the people was getting jabbed up, just to be able to go out to a fucking club, man. Right, to go back to having quote unquote normal, right? That is the state of the average Babylonian citizen in this place, man. And these people are coming to a very rude awakening, man, because everything is a joke unto these people, man. This is Ecclesiastes, the 7th chapter, verse 2, and it reads, "It is better to go to the house of mourning than to go to the house of feasting." And right now, these people are in the house of feasting. They're living it up. They're partying. They're living the YOLO mindset, right? They saying, hey, I'm young, wild, and free, young, wild, and turnt, whatever they want to say. But yet they know that is to their demise. That mindset, that path will ultimately lead them to their destruction. And internally, they know that. But yet they still do it, man. Right? Right? That's why some people, they're just going to ultimately perish in this place, man. Right? You have individuals that's in the mindset that, well, everybody dies someday. Well, if I die, I die. I don't care. Right? But they think the death is going to be a quick, painless death, or a quick death, or a temporary, a pain that they have to go through. But they don't understand the gravity of the type of judgments and deaths that the Lord is getting ready to unleash upon the 2/3 of our people, upon the wicked of our people, and upon the heathen of this place, man. Right? Scripture says a death by pain. All right, we're dealing with, the ultimate power, Allah Shadia, right? The Lord is the one that controls the whole issue of life and death. That controls, the spirit in your body, man. Right? You could be going through a agonizing and critically painful death, and the Lord can keep your spirit in your body so you can be tormented in that pain, right? Going through that death, right? It's a very fearful thing, man. And this is what's about to be a reality to people that's stiff-necked like that, that's thinking, well, if I die, I die. It's okay. Nah, it's not. Because it says, right, people gonna be, it's gonna get so bad in this place that people are gonna be, yearning or searching or wanting death, and they won't even be able to get it, man. right? Think of any apocalyptic movie that you've seen in your life and times that by 1,000, man. And then some, right? Because it says the times that's coming is a time that has never ever before been seen on the planet Earth. Terrible times is coming, right? Matthew 24:37. But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days ever before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. And it's the same, mindset these people are in today, just like the times of Noah, right? They living it up, they're partying, you got, people out here doing all types of wickedness. You got the women out here being harlots. You got the men out here being, sodomites, being adulterers. You got all types of wickedness going on out here, man. All right. Just living it up, in their bubble, in La La Land, right? Living young, wild, and free, as they say, right? And that's going to come back to really bite these people in the ass, man. Right? The average Babylonian has a problem or a condition of, knowing internally, right? Because, Jake's spirit know internally that what they're doing is wrong, right? Their spirit is telling them, hey, you should not be doing this, but they listen to their flesh and continually, go down that wrong path. And that's ultimately going to lead to their demise, lest they repent, right? That's why now is the time more than ever to turn back to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai. Forsake this world that has nothing to offer you, right? The latter end of those that follow this world is ultimately going to be death and destruction, all right, and judgments, okay? But hey, I'm going to wrap it up with that. Lord willing, this was edifying unto the elect of Israel. With that being said, I give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Ruach Kodash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone well. Peace, blessings, salutations to those electors out there pushing, laboring, believing, and listening on to this truth with heart sincerity. Until next time, shalom. And above all, Kwame Yasharallah, shalom.